why were we given the Bible? Let's look back at the time when we were given the Bible initially. What was the purpose? Can you give me the defining purpose of somebody who's going to oppress me, going to make the people you oppress become a part of that same religion? What's the purpose in that? Does it serve a purpose?
That's a very serious question, Brother Armin Rashidi. Did we have the Bible when we came over on the good ship Jesus, the Grace of God and the Holy Mary? That was the name of John Hopkins' slave ships. No, we did not have the Bible. The Europeans are the ones who had their version of the Bible. I keep in mind, I said their version, as we already talked about, that there was the African origin of it in the first place. Now, in justifying the whole slave trade, the Europeans said they had to take Africans over here to make us good Christians, because we were heathens and we were pagans, and this was something that God had got them to bring us into this new world, to Christianize us and all this. So first of all, what was the Bible used for? The Bible was used for spiritual enslavement. Here's the first time we see the worst form of enslavement that humanity has ever gone under. Many other people of other ethnic races have been enslaved. Not only African people. In fact, let's deal with the word slave. Slavery is from the Slavs. They were the ones who were enslaved first in Europe. That means the Romans enslaved these Slavs. That's where we get the term slave from, first of all. A lot of times when we speak of slavery, we as black people look at it that we are the only slaves in the world, when there were many slaves. But what's the difference between these other people being enslaved and us being enslaved? There's a big difference. For the first time, the world is looking at a new form of slavery. This new form of slavery is called spiritual enslavement. That means the Bible is used to justify slavery. There are various verses in the Bible that the slave master always used in telling this slave that he had to be obedient to his master. He had to be a good slave and so forth. This is what the Bible was used for until other great leaders like the Honorable Nat Turner, who was able to come and read the Bible and use it for a revolutionary tool for the liberation, the spiritual liberation of African people. Even the image of Jesus prior to the slave trade, many of the pictures that the Europeans had of Jesus was black. I have some of the earlier pictures of 300 AD. 300 AD was during the time of the Diocletian persecution of North African Christians. People don't realize that black people were Christians before Rome was. That's something that we have to deal with. But why is it that Pope Julius II commissioned Michelangelo to paint Jesus from black to white? Why is this? What was taking place in 1505? In 1505, they had to create the world's most vicious form of enslavement, spiritual enslavement. They had to take and put their image. The white man had to put his image down into what we know as our spiritual psyche. That means when you call on the Creator in your spiritual psyche, the image regurgitates up out of how your ancestors and your people have seen the Creator. So if someone has spiritually enslaved you, when you call and activate your spiritual collective subconscious of the Creator, then in your mental television will come up as the image of the white man, as a white Jesus is God, then you're a victim of spiritual enslavement. That means that you will never be free. You will never do any harm to the white man. You will always see that it must be white first to make it right, because the image is in our psychic is Jesus as a white man. This is where Pope Julius II commissioned Michelangelo to paint Jesus from black to white, to create spiritual enslavement. Other conquerors of other ethnic groups who came in, they never put the image of the God, their God, the conqueror's God, down into the people that they were enslaving. The people still had their own deity, their own God image intact. And by having the image of their deity and their own God image intact, they were able to free themselves. But Europeans realized that they wanted to create an eternal slavery. An eternal slavery is to erase the true image. I still have pictures of the Pope that worships a black Mary and Jesus to this day in the cellar of the Vatican. Also keep in mind that the church The Catholic Church, when Bartholomew de las Casas, who authorizing the taking of African people from the African continent, after Christopher Colon, that we know as Christopher Columbus, killed many of the indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere called Indians, and said, well, we'll bring the Africans over. And from that time out, that's how they came over. It was about conquest and capitalism. It was not about they wanted to bring us over to make us good Christians.